came back. I had to, make a phone call to Scarlett Johansson. Apparently, she wants me in the new Black Widow movie. I don't know. I'm gonna get back to her. But before we get into comedy, because I think a lot of people don't really understand the military or they are fascinated by the military. So I'm just curious because I remember when I was doing military training for the army, and like I said, I have family and friends who's been in the Air Force, the Navy. Let me ask you something. I've heard like the Army, the Navy, and the military, and the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force have like a little rivalry amongst them going on. Is that true?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we always think we're the best. we always competing with each other, man. Always. Like for instance, I know for a fact like the toughest service that there is the Marines. Like if you become a Marine and you make it, you a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh man, what? Yo,
I don't fuck with no Marines. I'm like, no, you know what, dude, you got
it. Yo, I will test that. Yo,
yes.
I got to meet Marines, and I also watch a lot of I just like to watch a lot of their training videos and stuff. Let me tell you, man, people don't realize how intense the training is for those type of it's not for you literally have to be a special human being.
Yeah.
Or someone who is capable of dealing with that type of pressure and intensity. Because I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but it takes a certain individual to go through something like that. Because
only thing I'm gonna tell y'all is, look, if you go to Marines, you make it. You are a mentally, physically strong individual because they train a lot different, a lot harder than the rest of these branches.
Yeah.
I ain't even going to say a lie to you. I've seen and I watched and I know that the Marines are the toughest branch in the service.
And let's be clear too, because you're not trying to put down any other branch, but I know what you mean. Because
I've trained with all of them. I've trained with Marines. I've trained with Navy personnel. I've trained with Air Force. I've watched and I've seen who taps out and who don't. And Marines do not tap out. They would rather die first for tapping out. Like, I'll die for this. Look, guess what? I ain't dying for this.
I don't blame you.
I'm not dying for this. I'm trying to go home and drink a beer.
I don't blame you, man.
Shoot, man. But yeah, man. Hats off to the Marines, man. Hats off to them, man.
Yeah. Hats off to all the people serving.
Yeah, hats off to all of them. But like I said, man, Marines train differently and harder.
Oh, absolutely. And I haven't done it before, but I'm only just knowing what I've heard. Yeah, no, it's not for the faint of heart.
They're a different beast.
I think I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I remember watching a video. I think they was at the pool. It's like I know usually the military have their own special places to work out and do all that stuff,
right,
for fitness. And I remember there was like I think it was about 20 soldiers along a side of a pool, and when you sit on the edge, instead of sitting on the edge, imagine you reverse where your legs is like on top of the pool edge, and then your body's in the water,
right?
And like they had to sit there. I forgot. I think for this it was like a minute, but they literally had to sit up, upside down on the edge of the pool with no leg support. I've also seen them train where their hands are tied behind their back, I believe, and they have to go all the way down to think like 9 feet, pick up something to come back. I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds good in theory, but nah. And that's just the skit. That's what we see.
They train different.
They're built different.
They train different. Like I said, man, if I had to go to war with anybody, I want to go to war with Marines. Marines, they will protect you. They'll die for you. They'll die for their country. They don't give a damn.
No, they don't.
They don't give a damn.
And that's why training is so important. You have to get, one of the fundamental things out here, simplify. It's an overly common phrase a lot of people hear. But it really is a thing. I mean, whether you're in a Marine, Army, or Air Force, it's really a brotherhood too. When you go into the field, and I think that's one of the points you was speaking about, where a lot of people agree about how soft is getting, is when you're in that field, you want that brotherhood and sisterhood, meaning you're going to risk, yourself for your partner, but you also know that your partner's going to risk themselves for you. And I think that's why that training and boot camp and all that stuff is so important, because it's pushing you not only to better yourself, but it's also testing you amongst your peers. Like I said, it's a dangerous thing. You're going out to another country or you're trying to defend your country, and if you're not secure that everybody around you is going to protect you, then it's going to cause an imbalance. That's why the police force, a lot of them, they'll see their partner shoot an unarmed black man, but won't say nothing because of that brotherhood, which is not exactly a good thing, but it's something that you learn.
It's I'm the same way, man. We got a brotherhood too, man. Yeah, the military, like I said, man. If one brother does something, you keep your mouth shut. You don't say nothing. Like, hey, all right, man, I saw what you did, but I'm gonna act like I didn't see it.
We call it the New York syndrome. You mind your business.
Right. If I ain't touch it or mess with it, I ain't see
it. I don't know nothing. I ain't seen nothing. I hear
nothing. I ain't seen nothing. But yeah, man, that brotherhood is strong, man. It's strong.
Oh man, and speaking of brotherhood and tough stuff, comedy is not exactly something that's easy. And one of the reasons why I always wanted a comedian come on is because it's something I've also wanted to do, but I know it's not easy, and I see other people starting to, some people I went to college with, high school with, did they hands into comedy, and it's really a skill. So for you, how was your journey? From that first bomb moment on stage, in your opinion, to now, how has comedy been for you? And what is the hardest part about comedy you think people aren't aware of?
Well, first of all, okay, when we talk about comedy, there's a lot of, when people say comedy is not just being funny, okay? Everybody was like, oh man, you funny, saying you should do stand-up comedy. No, you got backyard funny, you got stand-up funny, you got social media funny. There's different types of funny.
Agreed.
Different types of funny. Like everybody that's on the internet telling jokes and have funny podcasts or funny skits, that's not stand-up comedy funny. Like we've seen some guys that have transitioned from the internet and done stand-up, like Country Wayne. Country Wayne is went from the internet to stand-up comedy. You got what's his name now? Charleston White. Charleston White has went from hood funny to stand-up funny. There's a lot of guys that have transitioned to it, but there's still something missing with them. Like, for instance, I used to act. Okay, I used to act before. I did a little acting in school. I did a lot of like a lot of music, a lot of singing and stuff. So I already know how to present myself on stage. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of comedians that are scared to use the stage. You got a whole stage, right. And you got a comedian that sit on stage and hold a mic for a whole hour and don't move. Like, dude, you got a whole stage. You're gonna sit in this one spot a whole hour telling jokes. No, see, when you see me on stage, I give you a movie. I'm gonna look. If I'm talking about a dog, I'm gonna probably get on my arms, my legs, and start barking like a dog. I'm gonna give you funny and a movie all together. I'm using a whole stage. I'm gonna include you in the show. That's what comedy is. Comedy is like putting on a movie with yourself, with your audience. That's how my stand-up is. So I don't know if you can picture it or not, but I use my whole stage when I do my stand-up comedy. When I first got into the game, like I said before, man, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to put together a joke, how to do a punchline. I had nothing. I just went on there and said, okay, my boy said I'm funny. I'm Facebook funny. I was on Facebook telling jokes. So it's like, yeah, man, you funny, man. You funny on Facebook. Okay, great. But I don't know if I can be funny on stage.
It's different.
Yes, it's a difference. It's difference. So you get on stage and you're like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? How do I put together a joke? But let me tell you something. My comedy is very raw. I tell everybody this. When you're a comedian, a real comedian, you don't even have to write down material. Like, I don't even write material. When I get on stage, I go freestyle all show. Everything is freestyle. So I can put it like this. You might come to my show, and I might give you 2 shows, and all the motherfuckers might be different. Every show is going to be different. You ain't going to get the same joke. You're not going to get the same punchline. You're going to get like, damn, motherfucker, why don't you give me that show? God damn it, I can't tell you. It's my energy. My energy is different. I'm going to give you something different. And that's just it, man. But yeah, man, I say a real comedian is one that does not have to write a joke, that can get on stage and just be yourself and make your ass laugh and just have a ball, man. I have a ball when I get on stage. When I get on stage, everybody in the audience is my family. We have a fucking ball. We party. We party.
Oh,
now, now, if you ask me who my favorite comedian is, I got a bunch of them.
Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker's one of them. Chris Tucker. Cat Williams is another one. Cat Williams. Corey Holcomb.
I actually met him a couple years ago. He's a
Corey Holcomb is a funny dude.
He is. Underappreciated for sure.
Yeah, Corey Holcomb, and I got to get my boy on here, man. I hope he gets back, man. Comes back, man. I hope he's doing well. Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah,
Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is one of the most entertaining, multi-talented entertainers in the world, and he does not get enough. He don't get enough of what he does, man, in entertainment field, man. He's a beast.
Oh yeah. You know what it is because I'm a big fan of Aries Spears too. Let me throw that out there. Andrew Dice Clay and all the names you mentioned too. I'm also a Dave Chapelle guy too, and I'm gonna ask you about him in a second. But like you said, I want to just bring it back just a little bit because I know you said there's different types of comedy, right? Yeah. And I think that's what's important, and I think a lot of people don't realize there are a difference. I'm kind of friends with this popular Instagram comedian. He does a lot of skits, and I remember I ran into him for the first time when I met him. I was thinking, yo, why don't you go into major movies and stuff like that? You'd be great.
Right.
And it's a skill he doesn't have. And I remember I was watching it. I was listening to an interview. I forgot who it was on DJ Vlad, but this actor was talking about what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. It'll probably come to me at some point. But he was talking about Instagram and content creator comedians, and he was saying that the problem for them is, you get multiple takes when you're filming yourself, right? You can always refine.
You don't get that in stand-up comedy.
Oh no, you definitely don't.
You get one chance. You get one. You fuck up. That's it. That is it.
And it's a skill that it's like kind of acting where theater and acting, TV and film acting. It's different mediums, and so many people. Like I said, it took me like 5 years to really understand TV and film acting because I grew up in theater. So for a lot of the Instagram comedians, I think the problem is they are only used to all right, you know what, that didn't really hit, let's do it again. And they are used to doing content like that, whereas stand up or when this live, it's hard for them to shift to that because they're not used to it. So it is a skill, and I think, like you said, it's something that many people really need to learn and probably take classes too.
Like you could transition to comedy because you already have the ability of acting.
And what's funny, and it's crazy because I think a lot of comedians, stand-up comedians especially, are great actors. And it was funny. I think it was Kevin Hart talking about it. on his podcast where for comedians, you know, it is acting because a lot of them are putting on a show when they get on stage.
Right.
You know, outside the ones like Dave Chappelle, but most of them have childhood traumas like the rest of us. Some of them have a lot more trauma than the rest of us. They're going through stuff we don't know about. So for them, when they get on stage, like you said, that you want everybody to enjoy. You want everybody to feel like a family. You know, you want to own that.
Yes.
So you're putting on a character yourself. And I think that's why so many stand-up actors, stand-up comedians transition to acting well is because they understand character development. They understand spatial awareness. And it's a hard skill. And I think one of the questions I will have for you as someone who have been interested in stand-up comedy, do you find it hard for content? Because I know everybody has a different creative process. Some people like to take the time to practice material. Some people like to be on the fly and, you know, pick people out in the crowd.
Right.
Which do you think it's generally, is it easier for you to have like a blueprint or like a structure of, all right, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna open up with this pickup joke or a line, and then I'm gonna go into what I'm thinking, but I'm gonna build it up to this. Like, is there a structure to stand-up comedy, do you think?
I mean, it depends on what you're trying to okay, for instance, like myself, I call myself the Playboy. So what do you think I talk about on stage?
Women. Oh no, church. I'm sorry. I thank the Lord.
No, you're right. You're right. I talk about women. I talk about sex. I talk about, you know, any relationships, marriage. I talk about it. I keep it, but I keep it funny, but I make it real. You know what I'm saying? I make it a movie. I make it real. I want to make you see my joke. I want you to feel my joke. I want you to experience my joke. I want you to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's just funny. I experienced that same damn shit. So yeah, man. So it depends on, like I said, man. You got comedians that write material. You got comedians that do storytelling. You got a whole bunch of different type of comedians, man. Like mine's is storytelling. Mine's is real. Mine's is raw. Mine's in your face. Mine's is loud. Mine's is sometimes it's very vulgar. But look, man. One thing about being vulgar, people are going to listen.
That's true.
People are going to listen, and people are going to be like, damn, no, he didn't just say that. Yeah, I did just say that. I did say that. And it's about shocking people over and over again. Boom, 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 boom. And like, damn, that dude is hard, raw, funny. And damn, one thing, I can't take my mama to see him.
That's true. I can't bring the kids. But
no, can't. Don't. No, Lord, don't. Don't let your kids see none of my act, because they're gonna be done. Dude, some of those have even got like.
What is going on?
Right, and that's what I want. I want you to be shocked. I want you to be like, can you say that? Yes, I can say that. Didn't I just say it?
Yeah, exactly. You know, comedy is one of those art forms I always speak highly of, and there's a couple points I want to get into about this, because comedy has been a major focal point, especially with the turns of events of Dave Chappelle. And you know, before I get to him, I do want to say, I think one thing you mentioned is important. You have to find your niche. You have to find your brand, and who's your target audience. Because, you know, Andrew Dice Clay, people who he wasn't my generation, but Andrew Dice Clay was a guy who, you know, he had his niche was that. But as society became, you know, a little more non-tolerant and, you know, political, he's not really getting work anymore. So you have to know your audience.
Oh, he's still working.
He's still working, but he hasn't achieved the same height that he used to.
Right.
And I remember watching the interview, and this actually going to lead me to Dave Chappelle, but I was watching him. But it was a late night show. It wasn't Jimmy Fallon, anybody like that, but it was a pretty popular late night show. This was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they was asking her, it was like, yo, you know, Andrew, you know, I remember you used to dominate the comedy scene, you know, in the 90s, 80s.
Right.
You know, what happened? Like, we don't really hear about you as much. And he was saying stuff like, you know, my act was becoming too offensive for certain people in the industry. And that in turn, he wasn't able to do a lot more mainstream specials anymore because now we're talking about a different group of people in charge,
Right.
which leads me to Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle. Many people love Dave Chappelle. I've done many episodes talking about him, but as a comedian, you know, like I said, comedy has been a focal point and is divided because there's some people who look at Dave Chappelle and say, you know what, we need people like that who's funny and also talks about important things. But
Right.
there's the other side now where it's saying he's offensive, he's trying to provoke people, he's trying to intentionally harm people, and he's not funny, cancel him, get him out of here.
Right.
How do you feel about Dave Chappelle?
Dave Chappelle is a legend, man. He's a legend. He paved the way for myself and many other comedians. You know what I'm saying? I think when Chapelle made his trip to Africa, I think he changed a lot.
Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely did.
He. How can I put it? Like him going to Africa opened his eyes up to a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? And let him see that, you know what I'm saying, there's other things that needs to be talked about on stage. You know what I'm saying? So the way he's doing comedy now, I liked it, what he's doing, bringing things to awareness. Like I said, people right now don't like being woke up, should I say, to what's going on in the world. Like, there's stuff going on in the world. You see it. Why you acting like you don't see it? I'm gonna show you it. I'm gonna talk about it on stage.
Exactly.
So Dave Chappelle going to Africa, come back home. I like his new style now. I like it, but everybody's not going to like it. But I like when the comedian get on there and talk about real issues and politics and stuff like that. That's good, as long as you make it funny. Don't make it seem like you try to push an agenda on me.
I agree.
But yeah, as long as you keep it funny, I'm all for
it. I agree. I think comedy is one of the last art forms where you could truly speak your piece and do whatever you feel comfortable, right? And I think,
yes,
I think Dave Chappelle's aware not everybody's gonna like him, and I think, one of the things, like you said, his journey. Dave Chappelle left Hollywood around my age when he was in his 20s, and he came back already had a family. He had children. He was older, so his comedy. I think a lot of people. I didn't grow up really watching him, so it wasn't like a whole culture shock for me to say, oh, he went from this to this. But I think for a lot of people, they look at like, yo, I remember he used to be very animated and like this, and then now he's a little more reserved and he's talking about these issues.
Right.
And it really has sparked a conversation on comedians and free speech, right? And I've been a big advocate on free speech. I'm a big fan of it. Now, freedom of consequences is another thing, but I've heard stories of comedians going on, a lot of these different talk shows, platforms, talking about how, they go into universities, they go into certain arenas or places to perform, and they told, hey, you can't make rape joke, not rape joke, you can't make black jokes, you can't make fat jokes, you can't make white jokes, you can't make drinking jokes.
I don't do shows like that. I let them look if I take any gig, I like look. Can I be me? Can I talk about what I want to talk about, or do I gotta control my tongue? And if they say I gotta control my tongue, then I ain't doing it.
I don't blame you. And it's what it is. I think like Kevin Hart gets a lot of flack from people, and I don't hate Kevin Hart. I wish I think he's great at what he does, but he understands when you are trying to go mainstream, you have to clean it up. So the Pop-Tart jokes, your kids acting like a fool during a cookout in the backyard. That's more family friendly.
Right, family friendly, right.
And that's the stuff that's getting pushed, which is why Dave Chappelle is such a polarizing figure, because we look at someone like Kevin Hart and like some of the new comedians who are doing the material like him, they're the most popular ones. But then you have Dave Chappelle, who's not doing that, and he still has an audience that still allows him to do these $1 million Netflix specials. Do you think comedy is going to change in the future? Are you afraid? It's always going to be places to perform, but do you think the places are starting to, as we're moving into a more inclusive, not as much freedom of speech type of era, do you think comedy is going to start losing that edge and that factor that kept it such a beloved art form?
Oh, it's already changing now, man. It's already changing now. You got comedians like you said, Corey Holcomb. Who else? Michael Blackson, Cat Williams, guys like that, man. They. How can I put it? They only get booked for special certain events. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't book Cat Williams to go perform at a wedding.
No.
you can't book Corey Holcomb to do a college. You can't book guys like that. They're gonna make people mad and upset. So it's already changing now, man. Like before, you know what I'm saying? We were so, how can I put it? We weren't so emotional. Like we knew it was just jokes. It was comedy. It wasn't to be taken seriously. But now people got to the point where now it's like, dude, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. I wasn't. It's just a joke. Look, I got gay people in my family. Okay, I got transgenders in my family. I got criminals in my family. I got all kind of stuff in my family. I'm talking about just in general. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about this is what's going on in the world. Right. Let's laugh about it. We ain't got to be serious about it. Let's laugh about it. Everything in the world right now is funny. Nothing in this world is serious. Everything's funny. You can crack a joke or tell a joke about everything that's going on in the world right now.
I agree. 100%.
From the president to the groceries to bills that come in the mail. You can crack the joke about all that shit that goes going on. Everything. My bills are ridiculous. I want to take them motherfuckers and burn them. Like, fuck this shit. Turn the lights out, bitch. Turn the water off. Fuck it. Shit, god damn it. Look, I'll just wait till it rain and get a bucket.
Get a bucket.
Get a bucket and collect this damn free water. Shit. But yeah, man, everything is not meant to be taken seriously. That's what we say. Just people need to understand and relax. Relax. Yeah. Enjoy the show. If you don't like what's being said, feel free to get up and leave. But for you to cancel me because you didn't like something I said, that's stupid. We would all be getting canceled.
That's a fair point. I always say, if you go to shows that you know you're going to enjoy, right? Don't buy a ticket to Andrew Dice Clay and expect
right. You already know what he's going to bring to you.
Piece. That's not happening. So, you have to be aware of who you're going to see.
Yes.
And let me get your take on this, even though this happened like a year ago. But as a comedian, I want to get your take on it. Chris Rock, not everybody's a huge fan of, but he's big in Hollywood. Will Smith, big in Hollywood, one of the biggest actors of all time. They had a little scuffle last year where, right. Chris Rock got the taste smacked out of his mouth. Right. Now, I have a lot of people who understand Will Smith and agree with Will Smith, not necessarily Chris Rock, but there are some comedians. D.L. Hughley, that was the guy I was referring to earlier, but he's one, and there's a couple other people who supported Chris Rock.
Right.
Let me ask you, as a comedian, because there is a fine, there's a line, I remember I went to see Andrew Schultz I went to the comedy club right up here because I'm on 70-something Street in East Side, New York. It's the people, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's one of the most largest ones in the city. But I remember I saw Andrew Schultz there a couple years ago, and he picked me out, and he was making jokes, and I cracked a joke that everybody was laughing, having a good time, and
right.
I got my 2 minutes, and we kind of moved on. But I just got my little moment shy. But there's some people who say, look, when you constantly pick out somebody in the crowd, right, and someone is sensitive about a certain topic, you're causing trouble. And I think so many people, one of the reasons why comedy's on attack is because some people feel comedians are using free speech as a way to, drag on certain people or, express their true feelings behind the cloak, right? It's easy to be racist and say, I'm a comedian but you actually feel that way. So some people look at the Chris Rock situation and say, look, it was clear that Will Smith was not comfortable with you joking about him and his wife. And you have no right to continuously harp on him or his wife because that's not your marriage to talk about all the time. Right. And I don't hate Chris Rock, but if you continuously speak on somebody's marriage and they're not asking you for their opinion, it's going to cause some dissension there. So,
Right.
what did you think about that situation? I'm not whether you think whoever's right or wrong, you could share. But what did you think about that situation?
Well, Will Smith could have handled that after the show.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Will Smith could have said, you know what? Wait till after the show, and I'm gonna really smack the shit out of you. Yeah, like I said, man, we're entertainers, man. One thing about us, man, we get on stage, we say what's on our mind. We don't sometimes we don't think about it. It just comes out when we say it. And that's what it is. But Will Smith could, like I said, man, he could have slapped him after the show. He could have said, you know what? We're gonna talk after this show, and we're gonna squash this shit. We're gonna put on some gloves, or we're just gonna fight man to man, whatever. But that right there, that should never happen. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Yeah.
Like I'm saying, like what if Chris Rock would have said, hey, dude, your movie that you did about Kunta Kinte or whatever the fuck, that was part of my family, and he slapped the shit out of him.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you don't like somebody's material or something they did, don't give you the right to slap them or punch them or kick them. Handle it like men. If you would have said something about my wife at a show, I would have got you after the show. I'm not gonna get you during the show. Finish your show. I will see you after the fucking show. I promise you. I promise you, I'll catch your ass in the damn parking lot. I promise you, I'll catch you.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough spot, you know, because on one hand, like I said, I usually stick with comedians on that, and like I said, I'm not advocating what Will Smith did was right, but I think one of the biggest things comedians, actors, entertainers, one thing you learn to know is to read the room, right? So if you see a pit bull, you know, you don't actively mess with the pit bull because you know it's going to bite you at some point. That's what it's going to do.
Let me tell you something, man. To be honest with you, one of the most dangerous fields of entertainment has been a stand-up comedian.
I agree.
For once, because I'm on a stage by myself, and I got an audience of people that might not like what I say, and they might attack me. You know how many comedians have been hit with chairs and got beat up on stage?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's been a lot of comedians that have been attacked. They've been shot at. They've been stabbed. All types of yes, just because of their jokes.
Yo, I was unaware this happened because I think when this happened, I was in like middle school. But you remember Kramer from Seinfeld?
Yes.
Did you hear about his little blow up at a comedy show? I'm gonna have to look it up. So, but he went on a racist tirade. So he was doing a show in LA. I forgot the name of it. It was like one of the most prominent comedy clubs in LA. Right. This was like a couple years after Seinfeld ended. So this was like early mid 2000s. And a group of it was a couple black people, Hispanic, and I think Asian in that group. But it was some young teenagers, I think 22, 23, 24. And they came in the middle of the set. And he went on a whole racist tirade. You know, I'm gonna have to pull it up. But he was saying a lot of racist stuff to them. And they was trying to fight this man. When I heard it, I was appalled. I was appalled. And it's stuff like that where when you hear about stories like that, it paints comedians in a bad light. And I think he was a specific example of someone who went extreme. But you know, when that made the news, it made you know, a lot of comedians unsafe or feel threatened. What Will Smith did to Chris Rock. First of all, I gotta say, and I think a lot of people felt this way when it happened. We thought it was a ratings skit or a stage rating thing to make the numbers jump. Because once that happened, the numbers went up for the Oscars. So
I'm sure.
It's comedy is a I love it. I'm more of the edgier type of comedy. I love edgy comedy, but I think people tend, you know, I think people really need to reevaluate their own, you know, what their boundaries are, because if you get triggered off of certain things, then don't go to a comedy. That's how I feel. If you know you're gonna go to a comedian like Cat Williams, you can't go in there expecting he's gonna keep a PG for the little kids, because that's not his thing. So if you know hearing about, you know, a man, for instance, man sleeping on a bunch of women, that, you know, that's not what you like, then don't pay to go see someone like that and they complain. And
Right.
I think that's why comedy is being on attack, is because so many people, what they're doing is saying, hey, Dave Chappelle, we don't like you, but we're going to buy a ticket anyway and still turn up and make you the bad guy because we don't like what you're doing. But
Right.
the simple solution is not to go, right? So do you just think that at this point it just needs to be better regulation in terms of security and all that stuff when it comes to comedy shows?
Let me put it like this, like you were saying, man, a lot of people that come to see comedy shows, you have to come up with open mind. That's open mind. Don't come in. Don't. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't like. You got people that come to comedy shows pissed. They come to comedy shows not wanting to laugh. Right. Like, how do you come to a comedy show not wanting to laugh? You know what I'm saying? That's a no-go. Don't come to the comedy show pissed off at your girlfriend, pissed off about your job. That's gonna shut the whole show down anyway. Because now I gotta figure out what the fuck is wrong with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I get on stage, I know I got myself ready. I'm giving you jokes. I got people laughing, but you in the front row acting like an asshole, trying to be macho. I ain't laughing at that motherfucker. That motherfucker ain't funny. Don't do that. If you want to be pissed, sit your ass in the back. That's it. You got seats in the back. Sit your ass in the back. These comedy clubs, man, let me tell you something, man. These comedy clubs that are doing these shows with comedians don't even book comedians on being funny anymore. They don't.
Yeah.
They're booking comedians and stuff right now off of how many followers you got and who you can bring to their club. And let me tell you something. A lot of these guys, these girls and men they bring to these comedy clubs are not that funny. But yeah, people are gonna follow them. Of course, they're gonna follow them. But the comedy game has gotten so bad, man. You got, like I said, man, you got guys that come off the internet and doing great big shows with comedians that have been in the game like 20, 30 years and never even performed at that comedy club yet.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just crazy, man. The comedy game is so jacked up right now, man. But like I said, I'm still grinding. I'm still doing my thing. All my stuff is underground. I'm an underground comedian. You won't see me at your fancy comedy clubs. You won't see me at you won't see me on HBO or Netflix. You'll never see that. You'll never see me on Netflix. Never. Netflix will never book me for a gig. But I enjoy what I do. When people book me for a show, they know what I'm bringing. They know they gotta let the audience know, like, look, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is he's unfiltered. He has no cut cards. So get ready. And I even let the audience know. I'm like, look, I'm gonna get on this stage, I'm gonna say some shit that you might not like. So if you real soft and sensitive, please leave. I tell them, take your ass home, get your money back. Because this is not gonna be for you. This is not the flavor you want. But yeah, man, comedy has been on a decline since social media hit.
Ooh, and we're gonna get into that.
Since social media hit, comedy has went on the down. Like real comedians right now are pissed. They are pissed. They can't stand Country Wayne. We can't stand Charleston White. We can't stand what's the other dude's run? Brian Davis. We can't stand none of them motherfuckers. Now, mind it, I'm not gonna hate on you for making money, but goddamn it, you got motherfuckers been doing this shit for a long, long time, and you motherfuckers come off of social media and you open it up for fucking damn Kevin Hart and Chris Rock and Dave Chapelle, when motherfuckers like myself that's been in the game for years, and we watching you come off the fucking internet, open up for these motherfuckers. So you don't think we gonna get pissed and mad? Yes, and then after that. Then y'all get to headline these motherfucking comedy clubs.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the internet has been horrible for the comedy game. For comedians that have been in the game 15, 20, 30, 40 years, the internet has ruined it. Like I said, you got guys like myself, man, have been doing this, like, been all over the place, man. I've done shows in Vegas. I've done shows in New York. I've done shows in DC. I've done shows in Maryland. I've done shows in Virginia. I've done shows everywhere you could possibly think. But guess what? just because I don't have a huge following and I'm not on the internet, doing skits and all that crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? I won't get booked for these comedy clubs. But you got these internet comedians that got, hundreds and millions and thousands of followers. They get booked for these shows. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They've never did stand up. They're just internet funny. So comedians like myself, yes, we're pissed off at Charleston White. Yes, we pissed off at Ryan Davis. Yes, we pissed off at Country Wayne. Yes, because these guys are getting the work that we've been working so hard to get.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. And, when we did the live stream last Monday, that was one of the things I talked about the entertainment industry. It's changing. And now it's about social media presence, because a lot of companies, a lot of these venues and stuff, especially for comedy, they're looking at who's going to bring in ticket sales. Because that's usually one of the things they want, is when they booking you and you're not a Kevin Hart or a notable name,
right? They
want you to sell tickets. So for them, they're looking at, okay, we could get this guy who has 500K on Instagram and, gets a bunch of views, because he'll automatically sell out this arena, opposed to someone who has, many years of experience, but isn't as well known. And it's something that's impacting the entertainment industry, because, even for acting, every time now, audition for stuff, most of the time they want the Instagram handles, they want the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitter, the Facebook. They want to see how popular you are. And it's unfortunate, but I heard a quote one time. I think it was Denzel Washington, but it was, no matter how much of a good of actor you are, if nobody ever hears you, then you don't, nobody will ever know. And that's unfortunately what happens is, like, I meet a lot of, great actors. I've met some stand-up comedians on the street that were funny, great actors and great at what they do. But they weren't social media savvy. They didn't understand about marketing and branding and having a niche, right? They just was trying to do what they love. And as an actor too, I was at a point where I just love to do what I love, but at the same time, it's money, it's a business. And I think some of the mainstream ones, Kevin Hart, Dave Chapelle, and the other ones that I'm blanking off right now, at least currently, they understand the market that they're into, and they understand that at that level. Well, I would say Dave Chappelle is an exemption, because what he's doing is not exactly, it's mainstream, but it's a certain other type of mainstream that isn't well received like Kevin Hart is. But Kevin Hart is like what comedians want to aspire to right now, because he makes the content that the big buck people are willing to spend on. So,
but you know what's funny about Kevin Hart? A lot of comedians think it's a sellout.
I was gonna, and that was actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I actually want to get your take on this. So I hear a lot of comedians, Ari Spears, one of them, aren't a huge fan of Kevin Hart, because this is a thing. Now I don't know how it is a comedy, but I've heard that some famous comedians, many, I'm not going to say too many names, I don't want to get canceled, and it's not my side of the industry either, so it's no point for me. But I've heard that some of the most famous comedians right now, people don't like, because they have people who write the comedy jokes for them. They write down their sets and they write down their material, and then all they do is just get the material prepared and put it on stage. And it's kind of like the same I hear in music too, where rappers or musicians who have script writers or screenwriters who write down their lyrics, they're not treated with the same respect. So how do you feel about that? I mean, I'm not too well versed in comedy, but how do you feel that a lot of comedians look at Kevin Hart and say, get him out of here, he's not a true comedian?
Well, let me tell you something. I was a huge Kevin Hart fan. I was, you know what I'm saying? And one day I actually got to see him on stage perform. And I got to tell you something. I was very upset. Very, very upset. He let me down. I knew the show was bad when I saw white people get up out their seat and leave. And I was like, damn, you got to be bad when white people get up and leave. Because white people used to laugh at every fucking thing. Sorry, white people. Sorry. But look, I tell you, look, I'm going to keep 100 with you. I'm going to keep 100. So when they would get up and leaving, I knew, I was like, damn, this dude really ain't that good. Like he not, put like this. Kevin Hart performs to levels of like, put like this. Like, for instance, he did that show in Pennsylvania, okay? Say he would did that show in maybe Vegas. He would have performed a whole lot better. You know what I'm saying? He performs to his audience.
Right.
So he gave us ass, but he went somewhere else, he would have gave him perfection. So, like, for instance, that's what they say, like, dude, your energy's not the same. You're not the Kevin Hart from old. You're a whole different Kevin Hart. You're
Right.
not that guy no more. Like when you was performing in like low comedy clubs and stuff, you were raw. You said what you told your own jokes. Like now it seems like you're all scripted. Everything is scripted. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is scripted. So yeah, a lot of comedians, like I said, like comedians like myself and like I said, like Ari Spears and Corey Holcomb, guys like that, they don't like Kevin Hart, the new Kevin Hart. They're like, dude, where's the old Kevin at?
You know, it's the price it's the price you pay when you want to stay in mainstream and relevant. And I think, the way how the culture industry is changing, I think Kevin Hart, first of all, I will never say I hate him because I don't hate Kevin Hart. He's just not
Right.
my favorite type of comedian. But I don't think I'm his demographic or his niche. I don't think he's aiming for me.
Right.
He's aiming for more, and I made this remark. He's making Pop-Tart jokes. He's making jokes to
He's
the
commercialized.
American family. Yeah, he's commercialized. he's like when you watch I'll go back to school sale commercial. That's what he's doing. He's advertising to families, to people who want to go out with their kids and the wife or husband and go out, if their family's in town and do something like that.
Right.
That's what he's aiming for. And I get why, this is why Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I talked about it on when we was recording last week. Dwayne The Rock Johnson's in that same aspect now too, where a lot of people are starting to say, hey, first of all, shout out to Dwayne. I'm still the most charismatic man, so watch yourself, Dwayne. But
Dwayne Johnson is very talented, very talented.
He is talented, but you know what? I think he's another one where a lot of people are saying, especially after Black Adam, they're saying, yo, what happened to the Dwayne, 20 years ago when he was doing Walking Tall and a Gridiron Gang, Gridiron. What happened to him? He's another one that isn't really, I watch Black Adam, and I don't think Dwayne is a horrible actor by any means.
Right.
But he's a guy who relies on his charisma, his looks, and his personality and roles, which I get it, in the movie business, or I should say movies in general, not TV shows. But usually when you think of the leading man in movies and stuff, they have a certain trait that many other people don't have. Dwayne, unfortunately, is not someone like Batista or Tom Cruise or Will Smith or Denzel who has range. So when you're someone like Dwayne and you're playing a guy who has such a traumatic backstory, you can't be winking at the crowd and trying to make people laugh, because the character is about a guy who's seeking vengeance for his death, the death of his son, and murder of his wife. So he's another one of those that's kind of people starting to question. Now Kevin Hart, I think in that aspect he might be a little worse, mostly because I think for him it's more about the money now than it is comedy. Right. And it happens to everybody. Conor McGregor, comes to mind, even though he's not in comedy, but he's another one where he was at the top of the fighting game for so long. Now he made money. He only cares about the money. So the passion really isn't there anymore. It's really following the checks. But let me ask you though, do you think though, even though a lot of comedians don't like him, do you think some of it is because of jealousy, or do you think it's actually just out of pure disdain for, I would say disdain. That's harsh. I'm not talking about Hitler here. But do you think people actually just don't like him because of the material, or they just don't like him because they wish they were in his position?
I would say it's a little bit of both, but I think the main thing is he's not true to himself. And that's what a lot of comedians right now, like myself, like Corey Holcomb, like Michael Blackson, those guys will stay true to themselves. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to sell out to sell no Wheaties, do no cartoon characters and none of that. We're not doing none of that. You know who we are. We're going to stay who we are. We came from the streets. We're gonna talk about the streets. We're gonna talk about hood shit. That's what we're gonna do. Like Kevin Hart, he was that dude. Like, dude, before you got Hollywood, you was talking about hood shit and real shit. Now all of a sudden, like niggas, like, what are you talking about? Like, huh? Dude, you didn't used to talk about no damn kids and your mom and your daddy and all that. Be real. Come on, talk about what's going on in your life. Like, like we know you ain't happy with your wife all the time. We know you ain't happy with your kids all the time. Stop fluffing up stuff. Like, we don't, just be real with yourself. That's it.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's one of those things, I think.
And then, like you said, man, I think honestly, Kevin Hart, all his stand-ups right now are written. He ain't writing none of his stuff.
I don't think so. I don't think
he's not writing nothing now. All of this stuff is handwritten. Like, hey, Kevin, here's your jokes for your our special. So you got somebody writing your whole hour special. That's what you're not true to yourself. That's why it's not coming out right.
Yeah, it's what's funny? He had that show with Wesley Snipes on Netflix. I don't know if you ever watched it, but
I watched a little bit of it.
It was honestly, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. It was actually pretty good. I will give them Kevin, Wesley, all of them good. They did a great job. But I think that was supposed to be like a scripted version of his life in some aspects. But it's always been, at least through what I've known, it's always been kind of known that he has writers for his comedy. And I think, I actually proposed this question to somebody before. One of my buddies who's been in the industry for a long time, because he's at that point in his life too, even though we're still in our 20s, but he's at that point where he's like, all right, I've been in this industry this long. Do I want to continue going that same route that I really don't like, but I know will lead me to, the money and stuff? Or do I want to go back to who I am as a person and stick to my morals? And I think it's a hard, it's a hard choice to make, because, for comedy, for acting, for the entertainment industry, it's a hard gig. Being it, whether it's comedy, actor, it's hard. The constant hours of free work, preparation, just getting paid gigs, getting work, trying to book different venues and get your name out there. It's a lot of work. It's not something, unless you comes from, your parents' money, or you have a trust fund set up for you where you don't have to worry about a day job and stuff. It's hard to continue doing that. So it becomes one of those things where you get to that level where you can say, instead of worrying about, I'm going to make my mortgage this year or this month, you know what? I can get this opportunity, get my own special on Netflix, get, a $5 million payday, and I'll just change my comedy to fit that now, because that's the one that's bringing me money and paying my bags. So many people, depending on you ask, some people might say, yeah, it's all about the money. Some people say, nah, I'm compromising who I am as a person.
Yeah. How can you sleep like that, knowing that you not being a person that you actually are? How can you sleep like that? I can't sleep like that. I can't sleep sitting up there pretending to be somebody I'm not.
I agree, and but this industry where not. There's certain things I have opinions about this industry. I tend to kind of double down on it, or not speak about it as much, because I know how the internet works, and industry, it's hard to speak on it. But I do agree with you. I think you have to have some type of morals, in this industry. But the problem is, and I think a rapper was talking, I think it was Lil Boosie saying this. If you take somebody who's been struggling, trying to pay, always worrying about how they're going to feed themselves, take care of their children, take care of their family, and they're struggling, how do you take someone from that position and then say, hey, we recognize your talent, we will give you $5 million, something they've never even sniffed at, even dreamed about, now is becoming a reality? It's hard to criticize. Now it's easy, on the outside looking in sometimes. Right. I wouldn't do it. You got to sell yourself. But at the same time, if you haven't been in that position where you've been eating ramen noodles, you've been, sleeping in your car, right? That money kind of becomes that, this is my way out. I don't have to struggle no more. And it's a hard one,
Yeah, it's hard. But I think at the end of the day, when it's all over with, I'm not going to be able to die peacefully. I mean, yeah, the money's great. Like, yeah, the money's great. But when it comes at the end of my life, and I got to say, guess what? I've been faking for the last 40, 50 years of my life.
You know,
it's a hard pill to swallow, man. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's the most important thing in the world, money or peace of mind. I say peace of mind, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to say when I go to bed, I didn't change for nobody. I was the same person. I didn't sell myself out. I mean, look, if I lived all this time with ramen noodles, I can die in ramen noodles. Yo, of course, every now and again, y'all want a steak, but look, I don't need it every damn day.
That's true.
It's, you know what I'm saying? As long as I can be true to myself, and people around me know, guess what, man? He could have made it, but guess what? This dude did not change. He stayed who he was. He didn't try to sell himself out. He didn't sell people out. He didn't, he turned his back on people. That's what I'm saying. Like Kevin Hart, personally, for what I think Kevin Hart actually turned his back on a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
I think a lot of people that started with him, man, he forgot all about. A lot of comedians he started out with, got him gigs, performed with him, and it's like, dude, I put you in the comedy game. I helped you get your first comedy club. What about me?
Right.
And there's tons of them, man. There's tons of comedians that should be on TV. Cat Williams should have his own TV special. He should. His own TV show. Cat Williams should have his own TV show. Corey Holcomb should have his own TV show. There's tons of comedians that should have their own TV show, but because they don't say or do or act the way they want them to act.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's going back to social media, like you said, it's become a popularity contest, right? Yeah. And I think that's why so much of the products, even on the actor side, that's why so much of the product is suffering, is because now it's, the days of Training Day, Heat, Scarface, A Bronx Tale, those type of movies are gone, because now it's about, the industry right now is superhero movies, big blockbuster CGI movies. That's what the industry is now. And I think comedy is another, instance where the people who are controlling, the people who have the access to make you a star, who can pay you that big bucks, are the ones that ultimately have the ultimate decision. So a lot of people are saying, look, I love comedy, I love this industry, but I'm tired of working at dead-end jobs waiting for the next opportunity. I can just, make my material, what they are looking for, get that money, and maybe at some point go back to it. And I think it is a sad reality, because it becomes, like I said, a popularity contest. Who can get more people behind them? Who can get the higher ups behind them? And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of comedians aren't, helping each other. And I don't think that whole thing where you're talking about is conducive to just comedy. I think that happens a lot of times in the entertainment industry, because so many people look at it like, look, you helped me get here, thank you, but if I give you the opportunity to take my position, now how am I going to feed my family? So I think it's become one of those things where, and I don't think it really happens as much as acting as it does comedy, because it's usually a little more opportunities in acting to you can work around that. But I think Kevin Hart, a lot of them, this is a thing I've heard some mainstream people say, where when it comes to minorities in the entertainment industry, there only could be a certain amount of high profile ones. And that's why it's so hard to break into that mold, because they don't want too many people who can compete with Kevin Hart, so do you think that is mostly just because how the industry is set up, where it's more individualized? And I get why some people are upset about him, with him about that, because I'm not someone who does that. But if you were in his position, right? Let's say someone helped you get to, the top of the Hollywood echelon, right? And you are aware that if you bring this person up with you, they could potentially take your spot and you'll go right back down to obscurity. Do you think at that point, and I'm not saying that's 100% true, but I think in his mind, this is how he feels. In that sense, do you understand why he's doing that? Or you still think, no, I think it's low that you left people down there that helped you get up to that pivotal point?
Well, look at it, man. The entertainment field is huge, man. There's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. Like I'm saying, like Kevin Hart, there's movies that he can do that, that Corey Holcomb can't do or Michael Blackson can't do. But there's movies that they can do. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff that they can do. There's room for everybody in the entertainment field. So if I help Kevin Hart get to where he's at and he forgot all about me, dude, I don't have no respect for you no more. Like, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
You have the knowledge and the people in your back pocket to help me get to where I need to be too. You've been around for years. You can't help Michael Blackson or Cat Williams or Corey Holcomb get to another level. Come on, really?
Yeah.
Come on, Kevin. Seriously? Out of all the people you worked with, out of all the movies you've been in, you can't help none of the people that helped you get to where you at, get to the next level.
Right.
No, I know. You can't even tell me that. You can't. Don't even form your lips and say no shit like that. Don't even try it. Don't even try it.
I'm just here to play devil advocate. I'm a firm believer that you help everybody, especially in this business, to get to that level. You need certain people to help you get there, and if you don't acknowledge them or give other people, I think at some point you have to extend the olive branch, because one of the biggest problems sometimes in this industry is people are selfish, right? And I think
very selfish.
And this is not just the entertainment. We're talking about business, finance, or many sectors of the government and in our society, people of power are very selfish. But I think, some people get to that level. They make all this money and they don't want to share it because they like, look, I get 50 million for this role. Now, if I bring you along instead of 50, I'm only going to get 35. I want 50. So it becomes greed. And I think our society, I think in other countries, Europe and other stuff, money, is important, but that's not the end all be all.
No,
our country, our society, money is the end all be all. So someone like Kevin Hart is probably, and I'm just using them as an example, but some people are like, look, I made it. I'm paying bills. I have a lifestyle I want to maintain. If I bring you along, you're going to jeopardize that. And I don't think it's right to feel that way. I think, like you said, there's plenty of opportunities. And one of the greatest things about acting is you see a lot of other, black actors, for instance, Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan. They've never competed against each other. They've always uplifted each other, worked together. Ryan Coogler, Tyler Perry, they've never won against each other. They, work with each other. I think that's how it should be. But I think in comedy, maybe, I'm not too well versed, but I think in terms of Netflix specials and the kind of money that's involved, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with it, but it could
it's funny that we're talking about this, man. You want to know why? The reason why I'm talking about this is because I experienced this also in the military. Okay, now I might hurt some people's feelings when I say this, but I gotta say it. Being a black man in the military, I realized that my black officers, the black sergeants, did not want to see me succeed. They did not. They knew I was young. They knew I was arrogant. They knew I knew my job, and they felt threatened. So they did everything in their power to keep me from making it the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the white man felt no, he wasn't threatened by me. He wanted to see me succeed. He helped me. But when it came to my brothers and sisters of my color, it was like, dude, I can't help you get there because I know you better than me. And but the thing is this. There's room for all of us. There's room. You got your E5. Let me get my E5. You can get E6. Let me get E6. You get E7. I can make E7. But it's like, dude, why are you holding me back? And that's what's going on with Kevin Hart and why are you holding these guys back? These guys helped you get into these comedy clubs. These guys helped you. And matter of fact, talk about Kevin Hart. I've never heard Kevin Hart say one time, this comedian or this comedian helped me get to where I'm at. Somebody showed me a tape where Kevin Hart is saying, hey, Cat Williams helped me get to where I'm at. Ari Spears helped me get. I have never seen Kevin Hart ever pay respect to the comedians that helped him get to where he's at. Yeah. Never. I've never seen a video of him saying this person in the comedy game helped me get to where I'm at. Period. Ever. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I haven't heard it.
If there's a tape or a video or interview of Kevin Hart talking about another comedian got me to where I'm at, please show me. Because I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I have never seen it. Never.
Me neither. I haven't either.
But like I said, man, we as black people need to do a better job at helping each other out, man. We need to, man. We need to realize that we need each other to make it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a black man. Look, I'll help anybody out. You ain't gotta be black, you ain't gotta be white, you could be any race. If I got something that can help you get better, I'm going to help you. Even if it's giving you my last. I know my grind. My grind is, okay, I hope you get this. Guess what? I can get it again or more than what I gave you.
Right.
That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. We as black people need to do a better job at being there for each other. That's it.
Yeah, it's a conversation we're starting to hear more often. Because it is a big point of contention, and especially when it comes to entertainment, but it is definitely something that's also in other areas as well. Right. And I think some of the issues is we go back, it was funny. Someone used the analogy of it was like Samuel Jackson playing the I forgot the role in the Django Unchained where he was looking at the other black folks was like I'm up here, I gotta work out yourself, right? I think for generations, our psyche has been up until now, but I think our psyche has always been revolved around that, where we're always competing for that one appraisal, that one opportunity, because we don't normally get that. So imagine, let's say me, you, Kyle, your brother, was stuck in the room, right? Oh, well, I thought Kyle, for the sake of this, but I like Kyle, but let's throw him out. But let's say it was us and another group of people stuck in the room, right? Right. And we've been told we're this, we're that, we're less than, you belong to us. And then one guy decides, hey, Playboy, I want you to become my head of state, or whatever the case may be, a position of power, right? Right. You're going to be now looking at, I made it, psych, you lose. This is me. Good luck to you. And I think it's a lot of generational trauma with that, which I'm not excusing, because I think at some point, when you're in your 40s and 50s, you probably kind of know what you're doing is wrong. So in that aspect, I will say in some things, I do think generationally it is passed down for us to be hardwired to compete with one another. Right. But I agree. I think right now we're starting to see a shift where people are actually starting to say, hey, look, Tyler Perry, I always praise him now because he has a studio that's employed so many people, especially minorities, to the point where now, instead of waiting, 1-2 years to get an opportunity, now you're working full time, year round. You don't have to wait for these other studios to call you. Now you have someone who looks like you giving you the opportunity to work. So I think we need to get to that point. But I think it starts with people holding those people accountable in power. But there's some people who walk around and say, it's Kevin Hart. I ain't telling him nothing. I want to be like Kevin Hart too. So if he calls me, I'm going with him, and it's a lost cause. So
yeah, that's good and all. Yeah, but Kevin Hart called you and got you in the big house and all that. Guess what? There's people that help you get to that level to get there to get to Kevin Hart. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we forget to look back and say, guess what, man? You helped me get to where I'm at. I appreciate you. And guess what? I know so-and-so and so-and-so. I want to get you in that door just like you can help me get in the door. And that's it. Just pay it forward. You know what I'm saying? Pay it forward. You help me, I help you. But it seemed like I help you and bye.
Yeah.
Bye. I made it. You didn't. Huh?
Yeah.
Dude, you wouldn't even be there if I didn't help you get to this level.
I agree. But man, Terric, Terric, we had such a great conversation. I think it's important to have these kind of conversations, right? Because so often in our society right now, everybody is leading based off feelings and not facts. And I think now, with people like me, you, and many others who are starting to really challenge those beliefs and starting to really start to have conversations and question these things, it's going to help our society in the long run. So, as we wrap up, because we've been going at this.
Yeah, we're rapping for a minute.
I think my social security about to run out. No, I'm kidding. But it was so. How can people find you? I will do a part 2. I'll have you back on.
Okay.
But where people can find your content, and just talk a little bit about your content too.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, I was on Facebook, I was on Instagram, I was on Twitter, and guess what? I'm so bad they kicked me all off. I can't get it off. So thank God for YouTube. YouTube has allowed me to be me. They haven't kicked me off yet. So YouTube, I want to say thank you. Please don't kick me off, because I get off of there, then I'm about to go take my shit to the street. I'm going to have a kid and tell a joke. But anyway, man, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on YouTube. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I'm all on YouTube, because all the other platforms do not want my energy and my ignorance, okay? They don't want me. So go to EO Entertainment, EAYOR Entertainment. You're gonna see a skull, a fire. That's me. You're gonna get music. You're gonna get comedy. You're gonna get politics. You're gonna get health tips. Everything is on that channel, and it's all different shows. So you go there, you're gonna get everything. Oh, and sports too. And you're gonna get sports. I do boxing as well. Boxing, I love boxing. You're gonna get boxing news. Everything is there. And I got some stand-up comedy on there too. So if you go in there, look, I got some stand-up, like I said, beware. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. But yeah, man, it's been fun, my brother. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get people emailing me, maybe leave a comments like, yo, I thought you had Chris Tucker on the show. I'm telling you, it's coming.
I've been around the block, man. I've done singing, I've done modeling, I've done it all, and now I'm a comedian, and now I'm on social media, being a content creator, and still doing stand-up. So, like I said, man, I'm true to myself, man. I don't try to make myself be nothing other than myself. I'm not going to sell myself out for a few $1 million. No. If I can't be myself, then I don't want it. I got to live myself. I got to. I got to live myself. Man.
Stay true to yourself. 2023, a lot of people are, especially social media, it's easy to put on a facade, fake page.
Man. I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
I agree. I think the most important thing I always tell people, be who you are. It's so much, it's easy. It's harder to act like somebody all the time. And it's much easier to just be yourself. It's the same thing as it's easier to smile than it is to keep a sad face,
Right.
But that's our society is kind of
like let me just be me. That's it. Let me just be me, and we can be all right. We'll be all right. We'll be friends for life. You just let me be me. I don't need all the glam and all that. It'll come when it's supposed to come. And if it's not, God ain't. Hey, it's not meant for me.
Absolutely.
But at least I can live being who I am and not try to be somebody that I'm not.
And that's the bottom line, because he says so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for another episode.
Yes, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man, for having me, man. It's been fun, man.
No, it's good. It was fun. It's always great to have these energetic comments. Like I said, I'm trying to, this podcast, I've talked about so much police brutality and controversial stuff.
Right.
And it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to make it fun. You know, if you're driving down a car stuck in traffic, you know, I want people to have fun. And I think this is one of my favorite. This is probably the funniest episode I have on here so far, easily.
Oh man, hey, don't do that to me, man.
Hey, you breaking records here, man. You know.
Hey man, like I said, man, I try to bring the energy, man. I try to, man.
Oh man,
Yep, I try to.
It's greatly appreciated. And you know what? I gotta say before we go, you know, he is someone that Hugh Hefner wanted to be. A playboy. That's right. The Playboy's in the house. He was great. We'll have you back on, and you know, stay looking out for more content. I got some more great things coming on. I'm sure I'm gonna have him on at some point, relatively soon. We're gonna have more conversations.
I'm gonna bring my brother on here, man. You think I was crazy?
I told you we're gonna have a 3. No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying that.
and look, as long as we got protection.
I feel bad for all the kids.
Anyway, man, it's been a blast, man.
Oh, it's been a blast. Yeah, you know, let's get out of here before the FBI closes down. All right.
Oh man, appreciate you, man. Great show, man. Appreciate you,
man. Thank you, man. Like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. Thank you again, man, for coming on.
All right, brother. Take care, man.